Welcome to the Rise Up podcast, where we explore the stories of business leaders rising above challenges and driving innovation. And here in the studio, our new studio, we have Jared Harrell. Jared's the director of Texas Tech Center for Real Estate. He's an associate professor of the Rawls School of Business, among many other things. Jared, welcome.
Thanks, man. I'm glad to be here.
Absolutely.
I'm really excited.
Jared and I have kind of connected over, the world of Lubbock and Texas and real estate. And there's a lot we get to cover. So
I know, man. We've covered it all. I'm surprised we could fit it in between our volleyball watching schedules.
I know. So. Jared and I both have some scintillating junior high girls volleyball we get to attend to. What puts us on the edge of our seats.
Man, it is. It's fun.
It is fun. It is fun. It's a season of life that won't be here forever.
Right. I know.
It'll be gone, and then we'll looking up and like, what are we going to do?
I know, and that's becoming more of a reality every day. You know, I mean, just like everything else in life, the closer it gets, the more.
Does. Yeah. Nugget to those listening, relish the moment, be in the moment, right? There's a lot of things that pull at us professionally, the world, grinding, hustling, but man, there's just nothing like trying to be in the moment with your family and those that really care about, because that's what's going to last.
Yeah, agreed. Honestly, I have to admit, I had to Google the word intentional the other day. Yeah. I mean, I know what intentional means, right?
Yeah.
I'm a lawyer. I understand the concept.
That's right. That's right.
But it's used a lot more, I think, in today's world, in various contexts, all of which are good. And I was fascinated by the idea that it's like, it's not only your attention, but it's also like value alignment and with your overall purpose, you know? And so that was a good kind of, I think, check to me.
Yeah.
Of what we do and why we do it and why it matters. So.
Man, that is the way to start this whole thing off. Jared, thank you for that. I think people who pay attention to this, really my goal is to pull out just what are the practical nuggets of wisdom and life and learning that can help us to live, I use this phrase, a rich life. And that rich does not mean possession of lots of great things, maybe.
Right.
But like the things that really bring richness. And so love that.
Yeah.
Well, listen, let's kind of start with, you're not a Lubbock native. I'm not either, but we're both in Lubbock, Texas. So there's a story behind that. Where did Jared's kind of young, maybe academic / professional career get started?
So I grew up in Livingston, Texas, which is in deep East Texas. And so my wife, which we'll get to, is a Panhandle girl. And I just remember her open eyes driving in the deep piney woods for the first time when she came home at night. And it's just a different world than Lubbock. But man, I got here as fast as I could. So I absolutely love Lubbock, Texas. I never thought I would.
Yep.
In fact, when Leah and I got married, we had a serious conversation. You know, this is 22 years ago, but I said, Leah, you understand, we're never moving to Lubbock, right? Like, I love your parents. I love your family. Just with what I do and where we're at in life, like, it's not in the short run. And man, you want to make God laugh, just tell him your plans, you know? And
I had almost an identical conversation with my wife when we got married. Like, I was a Dallas kid, school in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Yeah. I was like, babe, great family, love visiting, great community, not going to live there, not going to happen. And same exact story. So my understanding is, did you have some gig'em in your background or something to that effect?
Yeah, we did. So I grew up in Livingston, East Texas. Really, there's 2 colleges you go to out of Livingston. Well, there's 3, Stephen F. Austin, Sam Houston State, or Texas A&M. And so in my mind, I mean, I was just always going to A&M. It was close. My brother, who's 5 years older, was going there. And so, you know, I mean, I went there and I had good grades, and I really didn't look beyond A&M. But the best thing about Texas A&M was I met this West Texas girl who happened to be a rebel within her own family. All of her family are deep Red Raiders.
Man.
She was the first one that kind of bucked the family trend. And so she's the token Aggie. And so then she marries an Aggie. And so you bring me into that fold. So I catch that every now and then. And I also catch it from Texas Tech alumni every now and then. They're like, man, I don't know if I can trust this guy. He's an Aggie and he's running the Texas Tech real estate program. But I'm all in, man. I love Lubbock. It has been absolutely the best thing that's ever happened to us. It's such a great place to raise a family. And I don't know, I've just been afforded to opportunities in Lubbock that I wouldn't have gotten anywhere elsewhere.
Yep.
And so I think it makes it fun. You know, it's a fun town to live in and raise a family in.
What do you think? Because that is a very fascinating observation. I have shared that observation about the makeup of Lubbock, community, family, this kind of opportunity to dip your toe into a little bigger water and participate. What do you think? What are the ingredients that makes Lubbock that way? What's your observation?
Yeah, I've got a funny story that I think kind of, or at least where I get my opinion on that. So the first week we moved to Lubbock, my wife's parents, who live in Cress, and that's where my wife is from, came down, and they're always so kind and generous, and they were helping us move in. And so I was going to cook burgers for the group to, hey, thanks for, thanks for opening boxes. I'll take care of lunch. Right. And so I go to United there on 98th Street, the Market Street. And I remember like looking at the steaks or what I was going to cook. And this guy just comes up behind me and slaps me on the shoulder and is like, "What do you think of them steaks there, boy?" And I was
total random guy.
Dude, I mean, I know he was a farmer.
Yeah.
I could just tell. And I came home and I was telling Lena, I was like, "Man, I don't know if I'm going to like Lubbock." And then flash forward like 6 years later, I'm making small talk with the lady at the register who has no idea where I am, where I'm from. And my wife is like, Jared, it's pulled you in. You figured it out. I mean, that's part of it. I just think Lubbock is a very approachable community. It's a community without hierarchy. I think there's a spot for everybody in the Lubbock ecosystem. And I really sell Lubbock hard to my students at Tech.
That's right.
Because I think there are a lot of opportunities. They're different than the types of opportunities in Dallas, Houston, et cetera. And if you want to do that, I mean, I want to do everything to help you get where you want to go. But if you want to consider Lubbock, and if you want to work hard and apply some practical knowledge, there's a lot of opportunity.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. I think you get a real accelerated opportunity to rub shoulders with movers and shakers, leaders, business decision makers. And I always tell young people, you want to accelerate your knowledge on how the world works, how business works, finance, real estate, whatever. Try to get in the room, be a fly on the wall with those who have walked ahead of you. And it just feels like there's a real openness in our business community, in our academic community, to just bring people into the room and say, just listen, pay attention and learn.
Right. And I kind of compare Lubbock to the Wild West a little bit. That it's a younger market, not necessarily age-wise, but in a lot of ways. And that's a good thing. It's easier to get stuff done. Stuff moves at a relatively quick pace. It's not an artificial pace like maybe in other bigger communities. But I just think it's a place where if you want to come in and you want to work hard, there are a lot of opportunities for you. Yep.
No, I love it. How did law school get in your radar? Did you always know? Did someone say, "Hey, you should go get law"? Or
I remember in maybe fourth grade, it was like dress up your career day at school. And I think I dressed as a lawyer, which was a kind of a lay down costume, right? It's just a suit. While other guys are like, "Man, I want to be a firefighter." Oh, that's a much cooler thing to wear to school. But that kind of drifted, and I actually majored in engineering at A&M, which A&M, that's kind of it's
tremendous engineering.
Right. And I was in agricultural engineering. So it was kind of one of A&M's really good programs. And I was just led that way. Honestly, I didn't know what I wanted to do, and I was kind of good at math. But in engineering, about 3 years in, I kind of figured out like, this is not what I want to do forever. Like I really appreciate the discipline of engineering and what they do. I just didn't see it as a career path for me. And one day a patent attorney came and presented to like my careers class, right? Like your senior seminar. I don't remember anything about it, but what he said, but except for the starting salary was so much higher than what I had even heard of. It was like $125,000.
Yeah.
I was like, all right, I'm gonna do that. Like, he said, and so I honestly, it was just kind of a quick, like, all right, I guess I'm gonna go to law school. Like, that's what I'm gonna do after I graduate. And I did. I really liked law school. I appreciate the educational background I got at both from an engineering perspective and then a legal perspective. But ultimately, the practice of law, especially in a big city, I mean, I was in Fort Worth, and so it was just taxing. It was a lot of work. It was a lot of hours. I really respect those people for what they do. And honestly, man, I just kind of found an escape hatch. I found something that I was passionate about. And so hence, I went back on my words to my wife of, there's nothing for me to do in Lubbock, because all of a sudden they were looking for a real estate professor. They had 2 professors leave. And so they were kind of late in the hiring cycle. So honestly, they needed some cheap labor.
Yeah.
They needed somebody who could come in and teach a bunch of classes, but maybe didn't need to research function.
Yep.
And so I was practicing law. I had taught a class at the University of Texas at Arlington.
Yep.
I taught in their master's program for 2 semesters. I taught like a 1 Saturday a course in real estate law. And I really enjoyed it. And so it was just an opportunity met a little bit of a unique skill set I was a lawyer. I had some experience teaching. It was something I was willing to do. My wife was from the Panhandle. I also had some health issues at the time, which I think were partially due to the stress of working at a big law firm.
That's right.
And so really all those things stacked up, and it was like, okay, Lubbock it is. This is, I'm leaving the law firm career path after, 12 years. And so I was a decent attorney. I had done I think worked for some sophisticated law firms, got some really good training. And I kind of just decided like, all right, plan B, like we turned on a dime.
Yep.
As I mentioned before, I was practicing law on a Friday and I was in front of 50 college kids on a Monday.
Wow.
Teaching my first class in finance.
Yep.
Real estate finance, which I knew about finance, but I wasn't an academic.
I was just going to say,
right?
Yep. And that's always kind of interesting, right? Is the academic content has to be tailored into a fairly formalized academic way, while I think at the same token, you're trying to drip into that academic format, all of the practical real world. I remember my first professor on my first class, collegiate career, freshman year, Thursday, still remember this, 7:50 a.m. because I took all early classes, and it was a management class. And the professor was pretty young, early 30s, Mark Lewandowski. And he ended up hiring me. And I worked all through college with his corporation that he became president of. Anyway, he was a professor. First day, sits on the front of the desk, right? Has the big old textbook. And he just slams his hand down on the table. Just wakes us all up. I love the morning. Yeah. He's like, and you should love the morning.
I know. It's kind of intimidating to be in front of college kids, to be honest with you.
Oh, man.
Because they're kind of like the pop cultures.
Yeah.
We put stereotypes on college kids all the time. I'm not saying they're all true, but some of them are. They're just a very, young, it's the younger generation, right? And so continuing to remain relevant to them. And I've always thought, like, do you have the shtick? Like, do you throw the book down? I don't know. Do you have this thing you do?
That's so fun.
I've never fully developed one, but
yeah, it's great. What did you, what surprised you? What did you enjoy about entering into, not even just the academic, you kind of even mentioned it, immersing yourself in a world with a lot of young people, with all of the spectrum of hope, excitement, fear that young people, that collegiate kind of season of life.
Yeah.
What were your observations kind of when you kind of jumped in the deep end, and now obviously you got several years under your belt and reflecting in that?
The thing that surprised me was how much I liked it.
Yeah.
To be honest with you.
Yep.
I kind of came in just viewing it as like, okay, it's a college teaching job. It pays pretty good. It's in Lubbock. I got a low cost of living. Like, this is a transition out of the legal world. Cool. And then I can probably practice law on the side.
Sure.
Let's be honest. The thing that appealed to me potentially, if you're teaching classes 2 days a week, right? That's working 2 days a week, 9 months out of the year.
Yes.
And you're telling me I can leave a law firm to do that? Like, I'm all in.
Yes.
It has evolved into, that's the bare minimum if you're going to just teach, which, there's a role for that. But I saw the opportunity there to develop the Texas Tech real estate program as a whole.
Yes.
Honestly, because there was such a good foundation, it was really more just capitalizing on what we already had than like building it up. And so it evolved into, I still teach, but there's a lot more going on as well. So
kind of tell me, what were some of the, I like to call them, what were some of the puzzle pieces that you saw out there that just weren't fully connected into what you now kind of describe as the Center for Real Estate? What were those pieces there that you said, if we just put this together, I really think we can launch this?
Yeah, it was our alumni.
Yeah.
I surveyed the room. And it was the very highly successful, like legends of industry, titans of industry out there that were from Texas Tech, most of them were from the business school and finance, but not all of them. And I saw the opportunity to say, you know what? We are Texas Tech real estate. We are not just if you graduated with a finance major,
yes,
which is where I teach. And I love that side of it.
Yep.
But Texas Tech real estate is so much bigger than that. And so I was finally able to kind of put my arms around through making very small connections of like, okay, who are these people? I mean, and it's pretty eye-opening. It's people like Mike McVean, the founder of Stream Realty.
Wow.
It's the Scoville family of Woodbine Development.
Yeah.
It's Larry Johnson from Crest, who at one time was the largest home builder in Texas. It's Jim Holcomb and Alan Hassenflug down in Houston. It's just these amazing, successful stories. And there was no nexus, right? There was just nothing that, I mean, I don't expect those guys to come back and teach a class, right? Like, so it was really just navigating that field of how do you connect the two?
Yes.
Right. What we have produced with what's going on. And it's just kind of been setting up a bridge between those two.
I'm also thinking back, how many years ago was that you were kind of?
Yeah, this is starting my 11th year teaching.
So that was 2014, 15-ish timeframe.
Mm-hmm.
You know, an observation I've had, and I'm curious if you have an observation on this, is it feels like I'm going to use the word, the sexiness of real estate as a career, as an entrepreneur, as an investor. Real estate's been around since the beginning of time. We all know that. Right. I mean, you talk about it like everyone's always owned some land. But in terms of, I think, getting the attractiveness of collegiates, college students, it feels like, my observation, there's been a pretty big ramp up in the attention.
There has.
Maybe it's we'll call it celebrity-ish profile of real estate people.
Right.
Would you agree, or what have you seen?
Yes.
And even your own students appeal or interest in it?
And I try to balance it because I'm so much on the inside of that now that I'm trying to see it from the outsider's perspective. But I think number one, I think a lot of universities had the same idea at the same time.
Yes.
To be honest with you, like if you look at SMU's real estate program and TCU's real estate program, A&M has a really good program. Like a lot of universities have seen that. So I think you're seeing a little bit of the results of that. Also, I think social media has had a big influence on that. I think real estate were some of the early adopters of, number one, like YouTube type training videos, of podcasts. Those are highly, highly prevalent, and they're well done. They're polished. They're good educational content. And then there's a little bit of just like legacy media that I think is being rediscovered. I can't tell you how many times I hear like, Rich Dad, Poor Dad being mentioned, and just that whole vein of thinking. And so, I think all of those have contributed to it. Also, Twitter has been a big kind of source of that. And there's been some
the real estate Twitter world, RE Twitter.
Yeah, I know. I try to consume some of that sometime and just passively observe it, but it's too deep of a rabbit hole. And I can't. Like,
it's immense.
I can't go down that because I'll waste my life away.
Have you seen, and maybe this is just the accumulation of planting seeds and getting more attention and exposure, but just the amount of participation from the business department, you've just kind of observed that continue to grow?
Yeah, I think you've got to balance two worlds. Number one, I've got to maintain the academic credibility of our course offerings, right? And that's pretty easy to do because I'm part of an awesome finance department, and they've welcomed me with open arms. I mean, these guys are PhD in finance, right? Like, and I'm a lawyer.
Yeah.
I mean, it took a little while for them to believe, like, all right, okay, maybe he can, like, we can maybe trust this guy a little bit.
He's a lawyer. He's an Aggie lawyer.
Right. So I have to maintain the academic credibility, but also balancing like the embracing the everyman.
Yes.
YouTube can do it. What do you need me for? Right. Like you can go out and take an ACRE course and learn how to financially model. I don't think you can, number one. And number two, it's having such good infrastructure on that side at Texas Tech University and then the Rawls College of Business and the area of finance. That helps significantly with that. So it allows me to appeal to kind of an industry focused world that, could question whether or not academics are needed to train you for real estate, right? Like I'm sure there are plenty of good history majors who are awesome real estate developers. I have no doubt. Right?
I'm going to ask you, and you don't have to put a specific name to this, but just like, give me an example of a student. I like to say, what's the byproduct or the fruit of a student that kind of got exposure into the Center for Real Estate, and then what came out the other side in terms of either career attachments, relationships, opportunities? And you've probably observed dozens of examples.
Yeah,
but I love kind of visualizing what that looks like.
Yeah. I mean, so I've got two classes of kids. One is a class of, they were going to be completely awesome at whatever they were going to do.
Yep.
Right. I just happened to maybe harness that, focus that, maybe make an introduction or two.
Yes.
And they just have a meteoric rise. I mean, two come to mind immediately. Number one, Meg Moose, who previously out of college, she started working for Heinz.
Yep.
She became the youngest, man, I don't want to say the word wrong. It's a title or a position,
Like
maybe vice
director
president.
level.
Yeah,
vice
maybe
president
director level.
And,
I don't know.
Quick side note: Heinz is the biggest real estate developer in the country.
Right.
For commercial real estate, skyscrapers,
Right.
apartment complexes, industrial, mixed use, all the above.
Yeah. And so a top notch, world class developer, and and so she was the youngest in
Yep.
their history. That's pretty fulfilling. I also had somebody comment to me the other day, and I won't name a name because, but it was a very large life insurance company, investment arm, that one of our young guys there was the best analyst that they had ever seen in their career. And it's so both of those are examples of like, man, they were going to be awesome at whatever they were going to do. But I've also seen examples on the other end where students were kind of floating around in finance, and maybe they weren't like the sharpest academically, right? But you just saw there's a grit there, man.
Yes.
There's something. And so, I mean, it's been kind of honestly educating those students that like, there's a spot for you.
Yep.
Like, right. Like you bring a little bit of wits and, a B student.
Yep.
But you're willing to grind it. I mean, you can rise meteorically also. And so
I'm curious. I'll ask on this same kind of vein in terms of the characteristics of students that translates in today's professional world, corporate world. What are corporations communicating back to you all in terms of, hey, we're looking for these things?
Right. I'll put it in two classes. One, they really want the soft skills. And so the ability to carry on a conversation, right? I mean, the ability to communicate effectively, to understand when to use email and when to send a text to your boss, when do you develop a full-blown PowerPoint presentation, or when can you just summarize, just those soft skills that are very difficult to teach. I've recently heard an acronym that I mean, I'll leave it to you whether you want to edit it out or not, but it's FITFO, and it's figure it the
Yeah.
I mean, and it's kind of that, right? You're looking for that. Like, are you a problem solver?
Yeah.
Can you solve it?
Are you comfortable stepping into an uncomfortable, non-defined space?
Yes.
And creating some kind of outcomes from it.
Right. And a lot goes into that. I mean, it's not like you can snap your fingers and say, hey man, just, there's a lot of confidence that goes into that. There's a lot of effects of quarantine that go into that, of social skills from, honestly, for about the next 12 years. I mean, it's just a different world that they grew up in. And so it's been a little bit of that. And then on the hard skill side, really what I'm seeing is the analytical ability, really underwriting, Excel skills, the ability to build, financial models, not really at a really high level, but just, do you know your way around? Can you figure out technology and platforms like Argus in commercial real estate? And there's some other platforms that I don't necessarily think I should teach as part of my curriculum. I should expose students and tell them like it's out there. And so, technology based, but honestly, it's more analytically applied through technology.
Yeah, that's right. I always like to ask leadership questions, especially on your journey. Who were, one or two leaders, managers, directors that you've sat under in your career, and both academia, professionally, corporate law, whatever, that you're like, I love their style of leadership. And then what was that kind of leadership that's always kind of motivated you, pulled you forward?
Yeah. I mean, one of the first was my first boss, who I think is the finest attorney, that really, I mean, just the range of stuff he could do. And then the level of service that he provided his clients. And it really just, I mean, that became my professional mindset. It was Lee Christie, who's still a practicing attorney, and just the guy could do anything. He could litigate cases. He could close real estate deals, and he took care of his clients. And he just really, I mean, I worked there for 5 years, and he just really showed like, I mean, it's just like the magic of being really good at your job comes down to, do you work hard?
Yeah.
And do you do the things to make people that pay your bills like you,
Yeah.
right? Like, do you return? I mean, he was just, I mean, I think is the best attorney. I mean, you know, he worked a lot, but all attorneys work a lot. And so that was a really, I mean, I guess from a professional, like when I wake up in the morning and how I attack the day,
Yeah.
that's kind of the mindset I think that brought that to me. And then, you know, probably the other one that he's more of a contemporary and a friend, but Grant Coates, who's CEO of the Miles Foundation. And so I still practice law on the side. And so I'm general counsel of the Miles Foundation. And Grant is just such a good strategy kind of thinker in all aspects of how he manages that foundation, both from a policy and like an HR team management type position. He's still analytical. So he's more of that like left brain, you know. So yeah, that's been influential, I think, to me, just as a colleague. I mean, technically he's my boss at the Miles Foundation as well. And just seeing how he runs a smaller type organization very effectively.
Yep. I like to kind of ask this question because you have young people that come across your path, your desk, your classrooms, et cetera. Kind of what's your approach to teaching, leading, mentoring? Kind of what's in your heart that you love to try to stir up in that capacity that you have to influence?
Right. I think the biggest thing is the ability to think back accurately about what you knew at that age. Yeah. Right. Like, I mean, how would you communicate with your contemporaries at that time? Like, what do they know? Right.
Yeah.
Like, where do I start in real estate fundamentals? Do I throw a whole bunch of acronyms at them?
No. Yeah.
Or do I start explaining like, you know, I mean, real estate is houses. But it's more than houses, right? It's an economy. It's a field of possibility, right? And so I see this all the time. I mean, and a lot of people come back and speak to my students and stuff, and like, you know, they'll lead off like slide 3 is the 10-year treasury. That's important.
That's right.
They should know that, right?
Yeah.
Like, I'm not saying they don't, but and so I just think, you know, the kind of constructing honestly teaching, right? Like meeting them where they are, or where I think they are, because it's a guess, right? So yeah, I think that's the approach I try to take is connect with them in some way on many different fronts by kind of putting yourself in their position. Yep.
I'll ask kind of one more question, kind of this academic world that touches the professional world as students kind of transitioning through there. You know, we're in a world where AI, automation, acceleration of tools, this and that, just it's almost, it can be overwhelming, I think, in many ways. And I think all of us are trying to find what are the right tools, systems that we can tap into without being overwhelmed. So I'm just kind of curious, what is your observation that you kind of see the link between maybe even trying to help your students go, okay, corporate America wants these types of skill sets or ability to be able to analyze. And we'll kind of use AI very generically speaking. Are there one or two things that you're kind of trying to encourage, or are students leading almost and going, we want to learn this and attach it to it? Are they kind of asking, what should we know about this?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's more of the latter. I think they are not fully, I guess, aware of how it will be applied in the business world for very good reason, because they've never been in the business world. Yeah. Right. And so I think that's how I approach it, is I need to translate it to them that I'm not going to teach you, you know, how to use Chat GPT. I'm going to assume you know it, but I'm going to try to take you from just, it may be suggesting cooking recipes to showing you how to use it to write an investment memo. Yeah. That's good. And so I think they need to be exposed to as much stuff, but honestly, like, academia is always going to be behind industry. Yeah. You know, I mean, we're just not that adaptable. We're not on the cutting edge. We're responsive at best. And so it's more about just exposing them, maybe giving them some confidence not to use it. But there are some like hallmarks that are here to stay, you know, for example, Microsoft Excel. Yeah. Right. Like, I don't care if you can run a GPT that can produce a pro forma. If you don't understand the inputs, it's worthless. Yep. Right. Like, and it always will be. Yep. So
that's exactly right. Yep. What's the data that's going to inform the output? Right. You know, what's the cost basis of assets? You know, what's the, you know, so on and so forth. So,
And so I will always cling to those, call me old school. And, you know, in 10 years, I might be the old curmudgeon, but there are certain principles that I think you need to know in the field of real estate, you know, starting all the way back at the concept of fee simple absolute, right? Real property ownership, title, right? Like, okay, if you just don't understand this and how it forms a investable, right? Like,
this is, I don't want to say a pet peeve of mine, but it's just probably something, it's to me now a very simple concept, but that was just hard to understand. And yet it drives everything, certainly real estate. And that is the simple of supply and demand, in the rental market. I talk about constantly. I'm like, there's so many rental units available. What's the pool of people that need to rent that's out there?
Right.
And if there's a lot more of them looking for a place to rent, then there are rentable supply. That demand will drive prices up.
Yeah.
And the inverse is very applicable. And just trying to get them to understand that.
Every politician should have to listen to that 2-paragraph explanation as part of their new oath of office, right? Like, yes. It's just frustrating because you see sometimes a blatant understanding of the principles of supply and demand, like rent control. And, it just doesn't work, right? Like, just fundamentally, it's not going to work. And so, it's frustrating. And so I always, I'm a big, I really try to emphasize, particularly my real estate law class, just the concepts of like property rights, which really you got to understand property rights before you can understand the supply and demand of those, so I try and peel it back as much because I do think our current students are, the fundamental economic principles are not being taught like they were.
No, they aren't.
So, and I think that's important in the business context at the very minimum.
Well, I think, and you've observed this, when you can grasp, understand, and then begin to apply some of these fundamental economic concepts, it helps you to accelerate understanding where opportunities are within your organization, your developer, your property manager, your apartment, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Now you can all of a sudden go, oh, so this is how you solve opportunities.
Right. Yeah. For the nerd in me, it's just game theory applied to life, right?
Yes.
Like, if this happens, then that happens. Is it always 100% true? No. But if you understand that, does it make, placing capital in certain context a lot easier?
Yep.
Yes. And we're not talking about rocket science here.
No, that's right. It's not. And that's why I tell you, this is the exciting part about being in the real estate world is it's not, you don't need an engineered rocket science brain. You need to work hard. You need, I love that you emphasize soft skills. That will help move you forward. Like I'm trying to tell my daughters, look them in the eye.
I know.
I know that's hard and it feels a little uncomfortable, but there's something that transfers in the equity and trust in human beings.
Yeah. And it's difficult to teach, and it's especially difficult to correct when they're 20 years old. Right?
This funny story. In my freshman year in high school, this goes back to the 90s, right? We had this etiquette class. I was at a college prep school, whatever. And this lady would come in and part of the etiquette class was she went around to every student several times throughout the course of the semester. And she was trying to teach you by practicing. She'd go, look me in the eyes and shake my hand. And she would critique the handshake and the eye connection, which as a 14, 15-year-old kid, you're like, what the heck is this? But now I'm like, that was immensely valuable.
I know.
She's like on the guys, fishy handshake, weak. She goes, you cannot do that.
Yeah. I remember one time I was at I was in the Future Farmers of America organization, and it was this camp we went to as a leadership camp. And this speaker came in and he was an all-day speaker. And he talked for like 2 hours in the morning, and then he gave you 2 hours, and then you had to come back and present a speech, to a room full of kids your age, 60 kids your age. You had to stand up and like present a speech.
Yep.
And it was terrifying, and I was somewhat good at it, but has that paid dividends? Well, yeah. I give a speech. I give 2 speeches a day, every day, right? Like,
man, that's another thing. If you can learn, and it is a skill, the learned skill of taking a concept, an idea, a proposal, and communicating it, casting vision, your ability, organizations see that and you're like, ooh, I need to put that person in front of people. He knows how to communicate, cast vision. And
I also have I have a respect for the people that have it in their head. And I also have a newfound respect for this art of like, communication strategy and this world of consultants that can help you do that. At the Miles Foundation, I work with a girl named Sarah Reddington, and she's our chief philanthropy officer. But she really sets the vision, and man, she's so good about translating like ideas into an action plan.
Yes.
And I used to not be a believer. I was like, man, that's hokum, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
You're just making pretty graphics, but I mean, I'm a believer because I've seen the way it just helps. And I mean, to the extent like she helped me to formulate the strategic plan for the Center for Real Estate.
That's great.
And yeah, so I'm a huge believer in not only having that idea, but then the process of communicating it down in a way that you can share it with others. Because if it's just running around up here, you drive yourself crazy, right?
That's right.
So,
well, we kind of like to wrap up our time with some rapid fire. So I'll kind of ask the question. First thing that hits your brain, we'll take it. What's the boldest trend that you've kind of pursued or seen pursuit in real estate today? What's some like, that's pretty bold and out there that you're kind of you've seen some guys in real estate running after?
Yeah, on a massive scale. Some of the craze towards data centers.
Yeah.
Because that's a really long process.
Yeah.
And so holding land for that long. And so some people threw money at that really early and it might pay off. I'm not saying it won't, but I think sometimes people underappreciate the expense and opportunity cost of holding a big asset. Yeah. And so, that was kind of early. Now, don't get me wrong. There's some people making a lot of money on data centers. So.
Yeah, no, I think that the most recent articles on the data centers is like, are we getting ahead of ourselves? Is there a bubble of a lot of chasing of capital, land opportunities that may not be fully realized with the demand? I mean, time will tell, but there's a lot of stuff chasing.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, it's going to be a game changer. Like, the one going down in Abilene.
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, so yes, some of those are going to hit, but they're not all, they're not all going to be large scale facilities like that.
Texas Tech is connected to the one up outside of Amarillo.
Really?
Fermi America. Randy Nagelbauer's son, Toby Nagelbauer, is the co-founder along with former Governor Rick Perry, Aggie.
Yes.
They're co-founders of this massive data center project. They're going to bring in natural gas generation, nuclear modules, solar.
Right. And there just has to be so many infrastructure connections to make that happen.
Years.
Yeah.
That's what people are like. I mean, we're talking 2030.
Right.
That's a long way.
Yeah.
Long time to have your capital out there.
Yeah. I don't think you can just call up the phone and get an electricity provider if you don't, or how else you're going to power it.
That's right. That's right. Okay. Another question I'd like to ask what has teaching real estate professionals taught you about adaptability? Like what kind of adaptability in teaching? Is that kind of...
Yeah, I think I've learned there's a wide spectrum of understanding, knowledge, careers out there. And I've had to think long and hard about like, what's the middle road here? Like, what am I aiming to produce? And so what we've bared down on in our real estate curriculum is like just the concept of value, right? Like if you understand value, a lot of careers. So I've had to just think about like, there's a lot. I mean, I can't take it for granted what everybody knows, right? Like you have to read the audience, read the room and do it in a way that appeals to a lot of people.
Yep. This question, I want you to point the answer to what's coming up next Friday, but current opportunities. What's coming? What's happening soon?
Yeah. So I've been really on my brain. I've told a couple people today that the next 7 days are like my hell week. Yeah. Because we've got our big real estate conference coming up. Don't get me wrong. It's been planned and I've got an awesome committee that I've worked with. But at the end of the day, I'm the director of the Center for Real Estate.
You feel it. It's on you.
It's the conference. Yeah. And so we've got about 325 people coming to the Overton on Friday, September 12th. And so it's a day of panels. And so for the first time, it's the real estate and banking conference.
Oh, nice.
And so there'll be real estate sessions, there'll be banking sessions. And then kind of the keynote, at lunch, we'll hear from King and Dupree Scoville of Woodbine Development, who have been just so instrumental at the Rawls College of Business. That's coming up. So I'm excited. It's always a really fun day. It's an exhausting day for me.
I know.
I can't tell you how many people are like, "Hey, Jerry, you having a great time today?" I'm like, "Yeah, I am." But really, so I got to work today.
Yeah,
you guys have fun, right? Like,
well, and you know this. I'm just going to say thank you because of the exhaustive time, effort, energy your team puts into it. But you know this, right? It's remarkable when you put a room of 300 plus people together that are coming to digest some good talks, but really it's this cumulative rubbing shoulders, getting to know each other, ideas, relationships get unlocked. It's just like, if you could, I would love to see the economic multiplier, right? Which it's impossible for that room, that space and time to create. But it's because you and your team had vision and you're going out there to spend a lot of time to do it. And the reward it's immense.
Right. Yeah. And I've one of the ways I mean, not say sold it, but kind of pitched the idea of establishing the center was it's not just I'm not just out raising money, right? Like there are benefits to be obtained just by being involved, just by coming to the conference, just by knowing what's going on, right? Like you get to know the students.
Yes.
That's a great recruiting function, right? Like it's hard to find good talent out there.
Yeah, it is.
So I just think there's a lot of opportunities and benefits. It's not all about, yes, we do need to endow the program and there is a fundraising element to what we do. But that's not the entire side of it.
That's awesome. That's great. All right. Well, Jared, I always like to kind of wrap up with a little reflection question. And that is, you could rewind the clock back, a couple decades, talking to your 21-year-old, young 20-something self. What's some advice that you would love to just deposit and let young Jared hear?
Yeah. I think I would just tell myself to be a little bit more truly confident, kind of trust your intuition a little bit more.
Yeah. Yep.
I've learned as I've gotten older, like that's what I value most, right? That's what I think I can do best is I think I have good judgment on things based on how I approach them, the perspective. And I didn't always have the confidence to do that earlier. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying my life would have turned out any differently, right? Like I got a good job. I got a beautiful wife, got a beautiful daughter.
That's right.
I just think there were lots of probably sleepless nights and angst that I went through because I just wasn't confident enough in trusting my intuition.
Yeah.
And so I probably could have gotten a little more sleep and, rested a little better.
It's so interesting how the unknown anxieties and fears, it has this kind of somewhat debilitative effect on us, and we don't know it sometimes.
I agree.
Reflection, maturity kind of goes, I didn't need to dwell on that so much.
Right. I know. And, and don't get me wrong. I mean, I fully appreciate the mental health perspective of it. But I was just thinking the other day, like, when's the last time you heard somebody say, man, I'm nervous about that? We don't use the word nervous anymore.
Yeah.
We automatically jump to anxiety. And I'm not saying, I don't know if there's a difference. I'm not a psychologist, but I remember being told a lot when I was little, like, it's all right, man, you're just nervous. Like, deal with it. You're going to have a pit in your stomach, but you're going to stand up and you're going to give that speech in camp, and nobody remembers it to this day, right? I don't know if it was good. I don't know if it was bad, right? Like, it's not that big of a deal. And I think that's kind of what that process of maybe embracing the short-term nervousness of it brings to it is, you know what, you're okay.
Yeah.
You're going to be okay.
Yep.
In 30 years, you're not even remember this moment happened.
No, that's right.
Right. So I don't know. And so I just think having a little bit more of that confidence in yourself reduces that all the way around.
That's good. That's good. Well, Jared, man, this is fun. I really enjoy hearing this. And I think we need to have you on somewhat of a regular basis just to kind of capture what you're seeing, trends you're seeing. We didn't even get to kind of dive into that because real estate is the same. And yet there's an evolving nature to real estate that I love listening and interacting with. So tell us, how do people get in touch with you, contact you, reach out to you?
Sure. And so there's a couple of ways really to see what we're doing at the center. Our student organization is a really active student organization. So you can see a lot of the events we do. It's tturio.com, or our information is on the website for the Rawls College of Business. And so if you just Google that, Rawls College, you'll see that you can find the link to the Center for Real Estate, and that has all of our staff. And that webpage is being rebuilt. So I'm excited. I wish I could do the address, but I don't know it yet, but it should be live in about a week.
Well, we said off the air, this recording will come out after the fact, but we're going to try to link back to your conference because you'll probably have some maybe even video content or things that if we can in some ways kind of share to the world, we'd love to tell people.
And I'll be a lot smarter about real estate too, because I'll listen to all these experts and I'll act like it was my idea, but really I just like,
it's all borrowed information.
Right,
it's all borrowed. Well, Jared, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, Josh.
Thank you for joining us another episode of the Rise Up podcast. If you'd like to subscribe, see other videos, you can kind of click subscribe below. If you want, we've got an energy company that we drive a lot of energy and real estate activity around. So you can hit us up at getriseenergy.com or on our socials at GetRiseEnergy. But until then, rise up, lead change, and keep making an impact. Have a great day.